Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for coming today, everyone that's here in person and online. We have 3 breakout sessions today, and we are excited to have the Department of Revenue here to talk to us about it. Specifically, they're not the IRS, so that was my thought process to share with you guys. I'm Professor McCartan, and if you have any questions or anything, go ahead and put them in the chat, and we will check those out later on today. So, and see if we can answer your questions afterwards. But we'll go ahead and let them start the presentation, and then we'll look at questions at the end. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Professor Nielsen, and Professor McCartan for your invitation to participate in your business symposium. One of the reasons I'm glad we can really do this is because we're going to give you information that pertains to every single business in Pennsylvania that I'm pretty sure you're not getting in a classroom setting. I don't think. Professor McCartan, do you know if HACC currently has a class on state taxes? You know the state administers 37 taxes. They impact every single business in Pennsylvania. And so when you go and enter the business world at some point, you have an advantage. You can brush up on what some of these things are. So let me tell you exactly what I mean. So Professor McCartan astutely said, we are not the IRS. The IRS is the federal government. But when we go out and work with taxpayers, they often don't understand the distinction between federal taxes and state taxes. Today, this is all about state taxes. So we call this presentation Tax Tips and Resources, New Business 101. The department has developed a strategic initiative several years ago to develop an outreach and education program that went beyond the standard industry groups like the Pennsylvania Institute of Certified Public Accountants and Pennsylvania Society of Taxes and Professionals in Accounting. We wanted to actually talk to the taxpayers. One area that we did not have in our outreach, and any of our outreach, was reaching out to new businesses. And I'll tell you why that's important. Because new businesses often make mistakes early on that can lead to big problems later. And so our thinking was, let's reach out to new businesses who we define as being in business a year or less, or those getting ready to start a business, and give them information they can use to protect themselves so they can succeed with the tax side of their business. Now, having said that, here's the agenda in front of you. This agenda, if I were to come in on this and look at it, I would think to myself, you know, this isn't very exciting. The first thing these guys from the Department of Revenue want to talk about is my address. I'm just curious with trust fund taxes. I can't see you folks out there, but how many of you are familiar with the concept of trust fund taxes? Ever hear of that? Okay, so I imagine all of you expect to go into business in some capacity. Maybe some of you will own your own business. Maybe some of you will work in the tax department of a large corporation. Maybe some of you will be private CPAs at some point. Wherever you work, this becomes very important. And we're going to expound on why. The trust fund tax issue, if it's not handled properly, can be a real showstopper for new businesses. Then the other thing we want to talk about is use tax. So for the 5 of you that I can see here, how many of you have ever heard of use tax? Yeah, that's not surprising. It really isn't. This impacts Pennsylvania businesses all the time. And so we're going to share some information with you with the idea that when you go, whether you decide to pursue work now, when you finish HACC, or go into a 4-year degree, or get a CPA license, whatever you decide to do, you'll want to know about this. Because we work with taxpayers all the time who will get a bill for use tax and look us in the eye and say, what is use tax? We don't want that to happen. Finally, there's record keeping. This is very important. Record keeping is how you show compliance with state tax laws. If your records are poor, you open yourselves up to all kinds of administrative type of remedies that the courts have given and the legislature has given the Department of Revenue to address tax deficiencies with. Then, of course, we'll round this off with some tips for success and also where to go to get help. Let's talk about address information. So boring, doesn't seem like a very exciting lead, but let me tell you why this is important. The Department of Revenue, Pennsylvania Department of Revenue needs your address to stay in touch with you. Because while we are in an electronic era, snail mail is still part of what we do, and your physical address is still important to us because we may need to get you a bill or a notice of inquiry or a notification of a frequency change in your filing. And if you don't get those and you don't act upon them, interest, penalty begin to accrue on any unpaid liabilities, and you may get hit with a bunch of non-filer notices because we think you're at 10 Main Street and you're at 10 Forster Street. So it's very important to maintain your correct address. It's a small task, but when our field agents go out to address delinquent tax liabilities, many of it draws back to, oh, well, that's not, you were sending it to the wrong address. The department operates off the last reported address by the taxpayer. So if you don't keep us up to date, the information you need to run your business, you're not going to get. Now, here's the thing. So you're young, you're not yet jaded, but some people might view the Department of Revenue and say, adversary. Well, that's not true. The Department of Revenue understands the importance of businesses in Pennsylvania. Now think about what a business does. They create jobs. They increase the availability of goods and service to the citizens of the state. And they support local communities by sponsoring baseball teams and basketball teams and special events. So important. So we want you to be successful. When you don't follow some of these simple rules, it's harder for you to be successful. And so that's why we're reaching out to share these rules so you can be successful with the tax side of your business. So a proper address reduces business costs. I mean, think about it. You're in your restaurant or your hardware store, whatever kind of business you're going to be involved with, and you're managing it, and the revenue agent comes in showing a badge and saying, you know, you owe us 12 tax returns. Well, you have to stop what you're doing. Maybe you have to hire an accountant. Maybe you need a lawyer. All because of this simple misstep with the address. So that address, wherever you get hired, if you start your own business, remember, keeping the Pennsylvania Department of Revenue informed of your address saves you time, saves you money. It allows timely receipt of the Department of Revenue information that we're trying to get to you. So let me give you an example. Sales tax. Everybody here pays sales tax, right? When you go to Staples or any other store, you pay sales tax. Well, that store has to send that money to the state. And stores' filing frequency, the number of times a year they're required to file, will change depending on how much money they collect. So every year the department reviews all the businesses in Pennsylvania that collect sales tax to see whether or not their filing frequency should change. If you're a really big business and you collect a lot of sales tax, you're going to be required to file every month. If you're a mid-sized business, maybe quarterly, and then if you're really small, you know, maybe it's semi-annual. But the point is, if you're a quarterly filer and we review your tax account and say, gee whiz, they should be a monthly filer, and you don't get that notice, and you keep filing us 4 returns, well, you owe us 12. And so now all of a sudden on the department's record, you have 8 delinquent returns, and none of the figures on the returns you filed are right. So again, just point of emphasis. Okay. So Nicole, I'm hung up here. I don't seem to be advancing. There we go. All right. Trust fund taxes. This is big. Okay, you really have to pay attention here. A trust fund tax is, oops, hold on, let me get rid of that. A trust fund tax is money a business collects that actually belongs to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. When you go to a restaurant, pick one, and wherever you'd like to go, you pay, so you go to McDonald's and you buy a Happy Meal for $5. Okay, well, that's taxable, so you pay 30 cents in tax on that Happy Meal. Now, McDonald's sells billions of Happy Meals in Pennsylvania, so you can imagine how much money they collect. That's not McDonald's money. That actually is your money that's supposed to come to the state. McDonald's holds that in trust for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. That's what trust money is. Trust fund money is. A business holds money in trust for the Commonwealth when it collects them. There are several kinds of trust fund monies. Hold on here, I'm trying to. There we go. So it's money held in trust until paid to the Commonwealth. Do you get that concept? That's what trust fund. But that's important in a business, because if you don't get this right, there's legal ramifications for your business. And many new business owners don't know this. What happens is, especially with a small business, they're just getting started, they're charging tax, and they run short on cash in a month, and they have other bills to pay. So sometimes they'll take this money and use it to pay another bill. That's illegal because it's not their money. There are 5 kinds of trust fund monies in Pennsylvania. There's sales tax. Sales tax is a tax on the purchase of tangible personal property. We all pay it, and on certain services. The employer withholding of personal income tax, that's trust fund money. So when you get your paycheck, and I know how hard it is, many of you guys work while you go to school. I know it's a lot of work. But you look at when you look at your W-2, you know, there's a little box. I think it's 16 and 17 for Pennsylvania taxes. There's an amount that's taken out of your paycheck. So if you make $100, Pennsylvania holds $3 and change out of that paycheck. But that's not the business's money. When they pull that money out, they're holding it in trust for the Commonwealth. So it's a trust fund money, and they're required to remit it. Actually, the money has to come in semi-monthly. Returns have a different filing frequency, but they're pretty strict. Now, here are some taxes you may have never heard of. For those of you in the room that I can see, how many of you are familiar with Pennsylvania's tire tax? Good, you're informed citizens, great. So the way the tire tax works is every time you buy a brand new tire for highway use and you pick it up in Pennsylvania, okay, you owe $1. It's tax. Okay, so when you buy a new car, you'll pay tax on the car, and you'll have all these other services, and then there'll be something like a tire fee added to the invoice. It should be $5. It's the 4 new tires on the car and the spare. Then there's the motor vehicle lease tax. So when you lease a vehicle, you pay 6% on your monthly lease payment, and then another 3% called the motor vehicle lease tax. And finally, there's the motor vehicle rental tax. So you rent a car, it's $2 a day to rent a car, or a portion of a day. I think now it's actually apportioned out. But these are also trust fund money taxes, and they're trust funds because whoever charges you that money, then you pay over that money to them. It's not their money. They hold it in trust for the Commonwealth. Then we have vehicle rental tax, which when you rent a car, this is another tax that shows up. It's charged by entities that are renting 5 or more vehicles that they hold in inventory for purpose of renting. And then there's liquid fuels tax, which gets paid and is actually handled by the distributor, but you pay it over. These are trust fund taxes. They do not belong to the business. It's the Commonwealth's money. When you collect, you normally have to be licensed. Now, for sales tax, you have to be licensed. For the tire tax and the motor vehicle lease tax, commonly called PTA taxes, you have to be licensed for that as well. That allows you you're legally permitted to handle those monies through the license. But when you collect trust fund monies in any form, you are required to report them timely and remit them in full. Now, why am I telling you this? Because new businesses often don't understand the concept of trust fund money. I mean, think about a new business. Think about all the things they're trying to do. And so these kind of rules sometimes slip off their radar. So it's understandable that somebody might not understand all these facts. But the problem with this is when you misuse trust fund monies, there's legal ramifications for your business. The department has the authority to use liens, citations, garnishment, and bank attachment to pursue those. So why do we tell this to new businesses? So you stay away from it. So you know that when you collect trust fund money, you need to send it in when it's due. So you stay out of this. These are the last things the department wants to use when working with taxpayers. We'd much rather work with taxpayers, helping them facilitate their filings, facilitate their payments, helping them succeed with the tax side of the business. But these tools are available when our normal measures don't seem to have an effect. There's also something called responsible party assessment. So I don't know how much business background you have yet. I know you're gathering it. You may have a lot already. But there are different kind of entity structures that people can form when they open up a business. There's traditional corporation, there are S corporations, there's limited liability companies, and then you can be a sole proprietorship or you can be a partnership. A lot of times when businesses don't do well and they're not able to stay open, they'll go out of business and they'll have all these unpaid liabilities. Now, if you're a limited liability company or your business is a corporation, you have no personal liability for those debts, except for trust fund money. If you have a business that goes belly up, the trust fund monies do not disappear with the business. They attach to you, okay? The owner of the business or the party who is responsible for filing, or maybe both. So that's something a little more unique with the trust fund taxes. And finally, there are penalties. It can get up to 50% of the tax. So you owe the tax, and then there's penalties that could be up to 50% civil penalties. Plus, there's also interest that gets tacked onto that. So that's why we're sharing this information. A lot of new businesses, they don't know this. And so they make a misstep or two and it doesn't get resolved. And the next thing you know, all these other costs are coming at them. We don't want you there. We want you just tending to your business. So we're trying to reach out to give you the rules and show you the mechanisms for compliance so you can tend to your business and grow it. And finally, well, not finally, but another area we want to talk about is use tax. So this is how use tax works. If you buy a taxable item from someone and they don't charge you tax for it, you still owe the tax. The difference is, since you didn't pay it at retail, you're going to pay it on your first use. So for instance, let me give you an explanation of what I mean. You go to a store, you buy a book, you pay tax at the store. This is assuming you're not doing it online. Okay, I'm assuming we still have enough folks who go out and shop at brick and mortar, but you go out to a brick and mortar place, you buy a book, they collect the tax, it's all good. Let's say you go to a brick and mortar though, and for whatever reason, they didn't charge you the tax. It's supposed to be paid at the time of the sale. But if it's not charged, you still owe it. You still owe the tax. The item's still taxable, and it's called use tax because now instead of paying it at the time of the sale, you're going to pay it on your first use. The actual name of the tax is sales, use, and hotel occupancy tax. All right? So let me give you another example of how it works. Many years ago, one of my children wanted a DVD set of old Shirley Temple movies. And there were none available around here, so I had to go on the internet and find a warehouse in California that had these DVDs. Well, the company I bought them from, they were not connected to Pennsylvania in any way, and they had no obligation to collect Pennsylvania sales tax. So when the DVDs arrived at my Pennsylvania address, they were a taxable item. I had to pay the tax as soon as they were delivered to my house. So that's use tax. If you don't pay it at the time of sale, and you should have, then you pay it on your first use. That's use tax. Does that make sense? Okay. Do you have a question? Go ahead.
Yes, how do I pay it?
That's a good question.
And where?
What I want you to do is hang on. Okay, we're going to get to that. That's a great question. But you understand the difference. If I don't pay it at the register and it's taxable, then I still have to pay it, but I have to pay it myself. Okay. The most common occurrences with internet sales. Just FYI, sometimes in Philadelphia, you'll see advertisements from Delaware companies that say, come shop at our store tax-free. Well, it's not really accurate because the minute you bring those items back in Pennsylvania, taxes still due. Use taxes due. Just kind of FYI there. Why do we have use tax? Every state in the country that has a sales tax has a use tax. And the reason is it's to level the playing field for their own home businesses. I want to show you how in just a minute. Without use tax, Pennsylvania businesses operate at a 6% disadvantage from other companies or from other companies in other states who may not be charging PA tax. So let me give you an example. You open up a business and what do? You want to make a profit, right? So let's say here you're going to open up a music store. You want to furnish your front office. So you go around and you shop around for office furniture. You go to a place in Maryland, you get a quote of $10,100. Look down here. Gosh, it looks like you're making a tax-free purchase. Who's not going to want that deal, right? Oh, can I move this picture? Yes, I can. All right, good. How about that? All right. So I go to a place in Allentown, and they offer me similar prices, but look down here. They're charging me tax. At first blush, when you look at these invoices, where do you think the better deal is? The better deal is over here, right? Because you don't have to pay any tax. That's not really true. Actually, the minute this stuff is brought into Pennsylvania, use tax is due. So really, on this invoice, there's $606 due on the invoice amount that you're responsible for remitting yourself. And with the use tax added, the total tax due is $10,706. Now who has the better price? And okay, and it's more equivalent. So what happens, the way we find this is when people don't do it voluntarily, if they get audited, we'll find things like this. Okay, and to that we'll add interest and penalty. So now the cost really went up. And usually where there's one like this, there's more. Does that make clear? Does that understand how the use tax works? You asked how to file it. Okay, let's talk about how you file use tax. So if you're a business that's required to collect sales tax and you have a license, there's a line, I think it's 6 or 7 on the, anymore it's the sales tax return template on our eTide system, where you can report your use tax there. And if you report your use tax there, it's considered timely. Then there is the good old-fashioned paper return, called a PA1, available on our website, where if you just have an occasional liability, then you can file it, print out that form, fill it out, and send it in with your payment. And then finally, if you're in a business and you are regularly shopping from places that don't charge Pennsylvania tax, and they're taxable items, then you can register for a use tax account and then just pay it regularly on our electronic filing system. That's how you pay use tax. Now, for those of you out there, let me just talk to you as a private citizen. So use tax applies to everybody, businesses and individuals. And what you're seeing here is how a business would pay use tax. Because this is an area, we did a study many years ago, and we had this many years of audit data that we've compiled from all kinds of different kinds of businesses. Big, small corporations, sole proprietors, you name it, contractors, lawyers, and so we did an analysis, and what we found is that when we go out and do audits, which is a normal part of a Pennsylvania business environment, if you have a business, you're going to be audited. No one's picking on you. That's just the business environment you're in. We have found that when we go out on an audit, 90% of the time, we find use tax due. That's why we're sharing this information, especially with new business owners, so they don't run into that. Because when we find it, we audit in like 3 to 4 year blocks. So we don't find one invoice like I showed you here. We'll find others, and the bill will accumulate rather quickly, and to that will be added interest and penalty. And then if you decide you don't agree with it, then now you have to spend time and go through the appellate process to show us why we're wrong. You can pay individual use tax on line 25 of your personal income tax return. If you follow the rules in our booklet, then you can pay it there. Okay. Now, you pay use tax through our e-tide system. And it's that you go to the department's website. We don't have it here on the slide. This isn't a live link, but it's revenue.pa.gov. And you go into the e-tides links, and you can file and pay all your returns there. Remember, I was telling you about the importance of address information. Well, you can update your address there. You can request a statement of account. Now, if you're running a business, you can have a lot of different accounts going. An employer withholding account, a sales tax account, a corporate tax account. A statement of account allows you to capture where you're at with all of these things. You can view your filing history. You can change your filing frequency. And you can set up scheduled tax due date reminders for yourself. So that's all there for you to use, again, to facilitate compliance. Now let's talk about record keeping. This is so important. When you operate a business, you get audited by the federal government, you get audited by the state government, you get audited by outside agencies for different kinds of things. OSHA does audits. And the way you show your compliance, and listen, that's not to scare you, but again, it's the environment you're in. And the way you succeed in this environment is knowing about it and knowing what to do to be able to easily and readily show your compliance with all the different laws that you have to deal with. Key to that is record keeping. You have to keep good records. So in Pennsylvania, when I move this over here, okay. In Pennsylvania, what kind of records do you need to keep? You need records that show your total Pennsylvania sales. You need records that show your total taxable sales. Now, with the total Pennsylvania sales, it's not just for sales tax, but it's also for corp tax as well. So your records have to capture all your Pennsylvania activity, your total taxable sales, your taxes charged, collected, and remitted, and your exemption certificate file. Now, we're going to tell you what an exemption certificate file is in here in just a minute, but good record keeping will have all this. Now, I don't know in this room how many are strict accounting majors. Okay, so you're all business management. Okay, but you do know the general accounting process, right? Invoice to journal to ledger to tax return. And so there has to be that kind of paper trail for you to show your compliance. When we have complete records, we generally don't have really any big issues. Now, sometimes there's issues with interpreting the tax law and how certain things should have worked. But in terms of whether or not, and that can be a difference of opinion. That's no one's cheating. But when the records aren't complete, you have to begin to ask yourself, what's really going on here? And why am I not seeing these? Okay. So keep the records that show all these things in an exemption certificate file. Anytime you make a taxable sale or sale subject to sales tax in Pennsylvania and you don't charge sales tax, if you're a business and you don't have documentation as to why that sale was not taxable, you owe the tax. We'll come to you and say, you owe this tax. Unless you have an exemption certificate on file to support the fact that you didn't charge sales tax. This is actually a great form for understanding Pennsylvania sales tax. And it would be great. I don't know who the magic person is to talk to, but there's so much material for state tax that you would benefit from in your education. Because I'll tell you what happens, you go out and if you're doing work for a new business, they don't know about any of this. And so you put yourself in a position where you're able to help them make good decisions, help them create a good record keeping system that protects them from missteps in the area of state taxation. But here with the Pennsylvania exemption certificate, has anyone in here seen this form before? Yeah, it's a lot to take in, but it's actually a good overview of Pennsylvania sales tax. So the way a form starts out is up here, what type of trust fund tax are you claiming this is exempt from? And how many transactions are we talking about here? Let me move this, okay? Is it one or is it multiple? Then, of course, we have the seller's information. And then the exemption reason here. See all these? They're hard to see. It's available on our webpage. Professor McCartan, do you know if the links handout was distributed prior to?
Not to the online.
Okay, but do you have that to distribute to them?
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason I point that out is we have prepared a list of links. We didn't give you a lot of handouts today because we didn't want to send you away with a ream of paper. So we prepared a links page. Jamar, do you have?
It's already.
Good, good. So that links page, when you get electronically, all those links work right off the document. This form, we have a link to the form right on here. So if you can't see it here, I understand that, but if you use that link, you'll get a great shot of the form and it'll be there for your review. But there's these different exemption reasons. You know, is it a purchase for resale? Are you a manufacturer? Are you government? Are you an exempt entity? Is it a wrapping supply? Different kind of exemptions are available. And finally, the purchaser's information. Then if you go on the back, and again, the link will show you better, but here's a listing of all the possible exemptions from sales tax if you're a business. All the different things that you can get an exempt, or different ways you can claim an exemption. This would be a discussion in itself. But to know this, going into a new business environment, to start your own business, if you get into the tax department of a major firm, I mean, this is all useful information for you. Here are the exemption reasons. Manufacturing, mining, dairying, if something is bought and used directly in one of these business processes, you don't have to pay sales tax on it. If you're a government agency, you don't have to pay sales tax. That is Pennsylvania or federal government. Resale, if you're buying inventory, you don't have to pay tax on it. Charitable organizations, public utility service, these are all the exemption reasons that you would indicate. You need to keep records on your purchases. You need to document this for any expenses you claim, for the assets you're carrying. All of these records need to be maintained so that they can be reviewed. And finally, you need to keep payroll records. The window for keeping those records is generally three years plus the current. I want to go back to trust fund taxes, though. Something you should know about this is that by law, whoops, I went backwards. By law, when it comes to trust fund taxes, you must maintain your records on the accrual basis of accounting. So you cannot do it on a cash basis. If you would get audited and you were keeping your records on a cash basis, and cash basis is where you don't record anything until you get the payment, okay? Here, under the accrual basis, you record at the time the expense is incurred. That's how you have to treat trust fund taxes. And again, that's a matter of law. So just be aware of that. There is, again, where there's complete records, it generally tells us you're compliant, and notwithstanding any disagreement on how tax law is interpreted. That's a different matter, but generally, we're dealing with an honest taxpayer, and we can work out whatever differences there are. Sometimes that requires going through the appellate process, but do want to alert you to a practice. Anybody in here work in a restaurant? No? Okay, well, there is a practice out there now called electronic sales suppression, where many cash-based industries are using point-of-sale systems that are equipped to manipulate their records by either, for instance,
Yeah, I actually have experience. I work at Subway, so we use the POS system.
yeah. And so some people will take that POS system, and so when you enter a sale into the system, in a back room or somewhere in Ohio, someone's deleting it. So let's say I go to Subway and I order a 6-inch club sandwich and a cookie. Well, someone's in the back taking the Subway sandwich off and just leaving the cookie on to reduce the sales. Now, I'm not saying that's happening at Subway, but I'm saying that's how POS, that's how these sales suppression devices work, is they manipulate, they'll either strike the entire sale or they'll strike a portion of the receipt. So if you go to a restaurant, you order steak and baked potato, and you get billed for 25 bucks. Well, someone somewhere is manipulating the record to show that you bought a hamburger and fries for 12 bucks. And so what they do is they hide money, they hide their income, and they're also stealing sales tax. The department has gotten better. Both the Department of Revenue and the Internal Revenue Service have gotten better at detecting that and addressing it. So when you go out into the world, when you go out and you work for yourself or your family or a corporation, know that the possession of these kinds of devices is illegal. Yep, if you have, not a POS system, but if you have the phantomware or the zapper that's installed into the POS, that's illegal. Okay, and you can be fined for that. All right. So with that, I'm going to turn the time over to my colleague, Jamar Thrasher, and he's going to talk through some tips for success. Remember, the whole basis of this discussion is for a new business owner, because these are the things that new business owners step in. These agenda items we chose for you today were not just chosen out of a hat, but when we actually put this program together, we went through our analytics, we went through our business intelligence, and we identified these specific areas as areas where new businesses mess up the most often. Now, when I say mess up, do you want to be a business owner who's handed a bill for $10,000 because he didn't know about use tax? Or they find out that the trust money that they didn't send in now exposes them to criminal prosecution for embezzlement or theft or misappropriation of funds? We don't want that to happen. And so that's why we're engaged in this, so that new businesses owners are aware and can stay away from these kind of mistakes. So with that, Jamar.
Thank you, Will. Hello, students, and hello, students who are remote. Okay, great. So part of what we're going to talk about are tips for success. And as Will mentioned, we want all business owners and businesses to be successful within the Commonwealth. So again, do timely report and remit all collected trust funds. Of course, businesses may think because they're collecting these monies and they're holding it that they have ownership to it, but no, they're actually doing us a favor as the Commonwealth and holding it in trust and then remitting it. Another thing that we recommend is separate accounts for trust fund taxes. A lot of banks, a lot of, if they have an accountant, it's easy just to two separate accounts. So your trust fund money isn't commingled with business funds and revenue and confuse businesses. Also, keeping the address up to date is extremely important. We want to be able to communicate to our taxpayers. We want to make sure that business owners have our information and that we have their information on file so that we could communicate effectively by mail. And this is important because if we have the wrong address, well, one, it increases our costs and part-time costs. And also for business owners, if they have several different locations and we don't have the right one, then what happens is the penalties and the interest continue to accrue. And also maintaining adequate records. So we require 3 years plus the current as far as record keeping. As Will stated, this helps with the paper trail. This helps with that information. And just to go over the don'ts, right? So don't commingle funds. Don't have, trust fund, the sales tax with your business profits. And then that gets confusing for the business owner. Also, trust fund money cannot be used to pay other bills, including business expenses. Oops, sorry. And one of the most important things is don't falsify returns. And we're not saying that people do this purposely, but it can happen. And when it does, there's a whole process that goes to changing that. And one of the things we want to make sure is that individuals are not keeping 2 sets of books. And a new high-tech version of keeping 2 sets of books, 2 sets of records, is actually electronic self-suppression, which Will touched on earlier. Electronic self-suppression involves manipulating revenue, manipulating income from a business. So the example I always like to use is that if you go to a restaurant and you order a steak, but someone rings it up for the price of a hamburger, well, you as the consumer, you paid the price of the steak, but the business put it in its record as the price of a hamburger. So that means that the tax that's due is not accurate. And it also means that the Commonwealth and the citizens of Pennsylvania are losing out on monies used to help operate the state. So very quickly, because I know we're short on time, I'm going to go to where to get help. So part of our mission with the Commonwealth, with the Department of Revenue, is to always improve our customer service. And we have plentiful resources for our taxpayers and citizens and residents. So the first one is the Department of Revenue's website. I'll go there very, very quickly because I know we have about 10 or so minutes left. So just very quickly, the website's revamped. You can make a payment. Listen, where's my income tax refund? I know, Will, you always say it's better for people to try to make a click than a phone call because we have so much inbound call that our channels are heavily stressed. So we recommend just seeing if you can find some information on the website. Property tax rent rebate, e-tides, if you're a business owner and you're registering, this is where you can go for your business taxes, our customer service, feedback, making a payment. So that's one thing. Also our online customer service center. And so I'm just going to go, I wanted to go back to it, but the online customer service center is where you can ask a question and it populates information. So if you put in student, it'll go to information that students have. So, hey, I am a New Jersey resident, but I go to Penn State. Or, I'm from Florida, but I go to the University of Pittsburgh. What are my tax liabilities? I'm a work study student. That information's there. We also have revenue district offices, and we have our taxpayer services and information center. So these are our district offices, and I'll try to move this out the way. As you see, Harrisburg, we have an office in Strawberry Square where individuals can come, but also, in Pittsburgh, my hometown, we have an office there, and that's that. And also, so information, if you do prefer to call the department, business taxes, that's the number. E-tides, as far as filing, if you have questions on that, that's the number. And of course, everyone has questions, it seems, about personal income tax, and we have a number for those taxpayers seeking that information as well. So this is a very important guide. Our Rev 717 booklet. If you do an online search for Rev 717, you should be able to find a PDF version of this. And basically, I like this because it helps break down taxable and non-taxable services and goods in Pennsylvania. And one of the things, and I'm an employee of the Department of Revenue, that I find helpful, and Will, I refer to this a lot, is that depending on the circumstances, something may be taxed or something may not be taxable. I know part of my job duties with the department is reviewing exemptions for ATV purchases. And so considering how the ATV is used, in particular, like farmers, they're exempt from paying sales tax. Depending on the function of the ATV determines if it's exemption. And so this is a big resource in my daily job functions. Also, we have a Facebook page. I know you guys have cell phones, so if you want to very quickly, like our Facebook page, this is something that we do for our outreach. So please, hello guys, please come in. You guys just walked in on the part where I'm talking about our Facebook page. So I know you guys all have cell phones, so if you could do us a favor and like the Pennsylvania Department of Revenue's Facebook page, that would be great. And just in closing, we want to, thank Professor McCartan, Professor Nelson, and really thank you students whose, educational path may turn into a career opportunity as an entrepreneur, or you may go into accounting. So where you're working with business owners and businesses to keep them up to date. And if you have any questions, please let Will and I know. And again, we thank you for your time and best of luck with the rest of the semester.
We have one question online.
What do you say?
Hi.
Thank you.
I'm the moderators online. Everyone's wondering what the speakers' names were, and I didn't catch them either. So if you could just give that information to us again.
Yeah, should I go back to the front title page? My name is Jamar Thrasher, and my colleague was Will Hartman.
Thank you so much.
And these are our, I don't know if you can see it. That's how you spell our information, our names and our titles. And Will is the assistant director of my bureau, and I'm his analyst.
Thank you guys very much, both of you very much.
Thank you.
Whatever they pop up, outer space there, right?
Yes, let me go ahead and put this on. Virtual, and hello everyone here. Thank you for coming today. I'm Professor McCartan, and I'm going to introduce our next speaker here for the Business Symposium. This is Mackenzie Anderson. She's the internship director with Northwestern Mutual, as well as she's brought some of her crew with her, so she will introduce when she takes time for them. I'm going to take the camera down a little bit for her. And go ahead and go.
Thanks. Thank you, Nicole. Hi, everyone here. So I'm Mackenzie Anderson, and we have Cody Keller and Joey Taylor. Joey Taylor is one of our current interns at Northwestern Mutual in the financial representative role, and Cody Keller is a financial representative live and in the flesh. So we are going to go through a little bit about who Northwestern Mutual is. And, our company was founded in 1857, 161 years ago in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And we have had our Harrisburg office, which is now located in Mechanicsburg, for the past 100 years. So we've been around for quite some time.
So has anybody ever heard of the company before? From the sky? Awesome. And who's seen like commercials, maybe the commercial where the guy builds a pool for his family? Might recognize it, but
It's okay. After you leave here today, you're going to see them and you're not going to realize that you've been seeing them all this time. It's like, oh, I just, you like aimlessly watch something. You've probably just been aimlessly watching. So Northwestern Mutual, like I said, we've been around for 161 years, and we have a video that we're going to start with. So I'm just going to share the screen for those that are tuned in here. So this video is just going to give a brief overview of our internship program. We have had a top 10 internship program for the past 23 consecutive years, and something that we're very proud of. We're going to go into a little more detail about our internship after this.
I just think the internship is the future of the company. The internship changed my life. Definitely pushed me into the one I have today. You're gonna do real life work.
It's by far the best internship in the United States. Career springboard into anything you want to get into, in my opinion. This internship will completely separate you from everybody else.
I still have many clients when I was a college student and still work together to this day. Words I would describe the internship experience. Challenging opportunity. Game changer, like reward. You're going to learn some things that you'll be able to leverage for the rest of your life, regardless of what you do. Being at the center of their financial lives, it's very fulfilling. You get to go home every day knowing that you help someone get closer to what they ultimately want for their families. It doesn't get much better than this. You're just getting started.
So I want to know what your takeaways were, and we want to know what your takeaways were from the video. So what's your name?
Jake.
Jake, what was one of the things that you took away from that?
I like that it makes you stand out. The guy said, I mean, it opens you up, it opens new doors, and I feel like if you give like I have here my resume, if you put a Northwestern in your resume, it sounds like it'll do some good for you. So that's what I took away from the video.
Very nice. And what's your name?
My name's Jose.
Jose, okay.
I don't know what to say. I like the video though.
Okay. Got it. And what about you? What's your name?
I think it's a really good history. It has been some long time, so it can impact your skills very well. I think it will be good for you, like if you're establishing a business something. So I think it's good.
Awesome, absolutely. And so, for us, Joey, as an intern, I want to know how you feel that video aligns with what you do.
So it definitely doesn't give as much detail, but I think it covers like the skeleton of kind of what we do in the internship. You build a lot of skills, a lot of people skills and communication skills with people. Public speaking, just like this, you're a lot more comfortable doing this type of thing in front of people, whether it's students or like baby boomers, like you're very comfortable. So, I mean, I've had a lot of fun with it. I've met a lot of people, a lot of networking, so that's been really cool. And that's going to give you a lot more leverage, like as you move into your career. It doesn't matter if you decide to do this or like other careers, you have a lot more connections after doing the internship, whether you decide to do it full time or not.
Absolutely. So my role at Northwestern Mutual is I'm the internship director. So I get to work with these guys and some of our other interns and even our managing director, Brad Nelson, and we speak to students, we speak with professors and other members around campuses, and we get in front of you guys and you all to be able to talk to you about what an internship is, and specifically what an internship at Northwestern Mutual and how this opportunity can be useful in other avenues. So for some, you may not have a finance background. That's okay. You may not have a business background. That's okay. Do you want to help people? Do you enjoy speaking with people, or would you like to be more comfortable speaking with people? And that's what this internship really assists with. It also gives you the opportunity to start growing your own business. So as a student, imagine starting your own practice and having that responsibility. You know, for some, it's like, oh my goodness, it's amazing. For others, it's, oh boy. And oh boy is okay, because it's freedom within a framework, and there are many coaching tools along the way and different mentor sessions throughout your time that help prepare you and keep you on the right path. So, you know, my mom, she just bought a new car. She got an Audi. For her, she's always been like a Ford or something, like a Jeep, something that was sturdy and she felt comfortable with. Getting a luxury car put her outside of her comfort zone. She wasn't going to do that without taking the car for a test drive. So that's what this internship opportunity does. It allows you to go through a very strategic selection process in preparation for the internship. And then once you're in the internship, it's still continuous coaching and skills. And you're not just getting coffee. You're not just making copies. You're actually doing what the advisors do.
So who knows exactly the job that you want, like fresh out of school? It's cool, you do, I didn't. But most of you probably have no clue, don't know where you're gonna end up, but you have an idea. And same for me too. I went to school on the side and tried a couple of different things out, a couple of different internships, and really had to find out what I liked and kind of get out of that comfort zone too, which was completely fine. And I'm super happy I did it. Joe, you want to talk a little bit about your story, like how you got involved?
Yeah. So I kind of heard about the internship. One of my friend's brothers, he brought me in. I think he was trying to make me a client or something, but I asked Cody about the internship, and he said that they were still looking for people. They had a couple more positions open still, so I was like, all right, cool. Went through the interview process. So you go through about 4 interviews, right? 3 interviews then. Give them your resume, all of your information, and then you go through some kind of practice things. They give you market surveys and stuff to fill out. So that was pretty cool, and that gets you ready for the internship. So as you're going through the market surveys, you're actually like hands-on, you're talking with people, and you're doing like a small portion of what you're actually going to be doing daily. So as soon as Cody told me about the internship, I went on a couple websites, did some more research on Northwestern, and I found out that they have a 96th percentile client retention rate. So that just means that they keep pretty much all of their clients. That they were in the top 10 internships. They were around for a pretty long time. And that they were the #1 AAA rated company. So AAA rated just means basically you're completely financially stable. Like you're one of the most financially stable companies out there. So that was pretty cool. Is that all you wanted me to cover?
Yeah, no, so people are brought into the career in all different ways. For me too, I came in as an intern, as a sophomore, right? Did it for 2 years, loved it, then decided to go full time. But it's also people coming into the career too that have done something else for maybe 20 other years, right? That went to school 20 years ago. It might have been a real estate agent and said, hey, I need to change. I want something different. I want to really run my own business. And coming into it then, and you really have an advantage coming in as an intern because you have so many years to build your practice, just like a doctor would, just like a lawyer would, just to build that up and really make it something of your own, which I think is pretty cool. But do you want to talk about like day to day?
Yeah, so like day to day, I like Jim Rohn's quote is like, don't start the day until you have it finished. So before you start the day, the night prior to that, know what you want to accomplish the next day. Your goals, all the homework assignments you need to do, tests that you need to study for, people that you need to meet with, or people that you need to follow up with, emails you need to respond to, all like have that mapped out and like just time management. So this really helps you out with college. Like the internship helps you out with college because it stresses you and it tests you. So when you get into the real world and you're like hands-on work experience with your family and you've got work and maybe you're still going to school getting your master's, I don't know, but you've got to have time management, and this really helps you out with that. Just like you're just dipping your foot in the water. You know, you're not committing to a career. You're not, you know, blowing a whole lot of money, starting up a business. Like this is very low risk. So that's one of the things that I liked about it. So how I do my mornings is we have our morning meetings, and then right after that, I do like 1 to 2 hours of just talking with people like my friends and family, and then like talking with other like prospects that people were like, hey, I think you should call this person. I think you should talk to this person and tell them about this. So like, or hey, I think you should talk to my dad. And then they'll come into the office, and the rest of the day is basically spent meeting with people, either talking with them on the phone, or I'll be just meeting with them in person. There's a lot of different types of meetings that we get to do, so that's really cool. You have control over your schedule too, so it's not 9 to 5. Hey, you're in the office 9 to 5, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or anything like that. Like you make your schedule, so that was awesome for college. Yeah, that's pretty much it day to day.
Yeah. So has anyone ever thought about owning their own business or starting a business too? A little scary getting into it though, right? I think everybody at one point says, yeah, I want to work for myself. That's exactly what this is, but it's not working by yourself, or you're working for yourself, it's not by yourself, right? Better way to say it. From day one, you have mentors, you have people in the office that are willing to help you. Just because coming into this stuff, probably nobody that comes into this career knows every single thing about the stock market or investing or growing money or protecting it. That stuff's all learned, right? So I went to school for 4 years, right? Got my degree. And after that, my first day on the job, I didn't know everything, which was completely fine. I'm still learning every single day, even as a full-time wealth management advisor, just like Joey is. And some stuff that Joey might not know, I might not know either. Right? There's always somebody in the office that I can go talk to, that I can get help from, maybe take on a case, and really just learn from. And it's really cool to be able to do that. And the reason that I do this with the college unit now is so I can bring people in just like I was brought in and really show them the ropes and help them get started. Because if nobody talked to a class at IUP for me, and I never kind of knew about this career, knew about this company, then I have no clue what I'd be doing right now. And I actually did try something else too. Does anybody want to be an accountant? Maybe. So I didn't think I'd ever be an accountant. All right, so quite a bit. But I didn't think I would ever be an accountant. I'm not a big number guy. Just didn't think it was for me. But I tried it out. I did it for about 3 months full time. And after those 3 months, I was like, nope, can't do it. Came back to Northwestern. I've been doing this for 3.5 years now, and I probably can't see myself doing anything else. But it's nice to get out there and try things and see what you like and don't like before it's say you're 40 years down the line of working and you're in one spot for a long time. So I thought that was pretty cool. And just like Joey and Mackenzie were saying too, is just having this, oh no, you said it. Forget your name, what's your name? Jake. So just like Jake said, if you have this on your resume, the skills that you're building are really going to help you out, whether you apply, say, somewhere in New York City, Virginia, it doesn't matter, DC. Because for me coming in too as a college intern, I probably never would have did what Joey just did, is get up there and talk in front of even 20 people. I was terrified of that stuff. I was terrified to sit in front of a single person. I just didn't want to do it. I didn't see myself doing that at all until I actually tried it and made myself uncomfortable and just built those skills up. So that's the one thing that I'm thankful for in the internship, is the skills that it's given me to apply to other things, even if I don't want to do this for the rest of my life, right? But with that being said too, having that on my resume, just with a Fortune 100 company, I did apply for those jobs in Manhattan. I did apply for those jobs in Washington, DC. I got them all. I got all the offers for those. But I decided, hey, I'm going to keep where I'm at, just because I think those skills are valuable that I already learned. And I want to keep excelling with that and see where it can really take me, and work for myself, right? But like you said, it is good to have a couple things on your internship as far as, or your resume as far as internships and work experience. Because it is kind of scary when you go to apply for jobs and it says, hey, 5 years minimum, right? Or it's like, what do you mean it's an entry level position? So I totally get it.
And circling back to what Cody said about like how employers like seeing that, they recognize Northwestern Mutual on your resume. They recognize the skills that you've gained from working there, even just with an internship. I've gained a lot of skills from the internship personally, and I've learned a lot. I've learned so much. So like another thing that I wanted to cover is like the tests that you're going to take. So I'm not going to lie to you, they're really hard. But they're definitely teach you so much, and like it helps you out. It will help you out later in life. So we did the insurance test. That's the initial test that you do. That's the easier one. And then you go through the SIE. Now we're going to, it's like a three test certification for your investment license. So
did anybody ever think you'd get like a CPA or a CFP or any designations for say full time?
You have like a big no.
It's a long path. But the other thing that's associated too is investing in yourself. Right? You're all investing in yourself right now. Just being here, say, listening, learning, taking your classes, going through finals week. I'm sure that's coming up, right? Yeah, it's stressful. But even after that too, in say in full-time experience, when you guys are working, there's probably gonna be more tests you have to take. Right, but you're investing in yourself to really say broaden your future with those, and once you get them, you're going to be super happy that they're done. Has anybody in your past Finance 300 yet, or like the first level finance course? Maybe taking it right now. So if you could pass that first finance course, you can pass the investment license to do this. I promise. Something I wish I would have done is look further and potentially what I wanted to do after school and started working on those exams early. I think it would have helped me, and I definitely would have, say, had a better idea.
So along with the licenses, our interns, they will take the PA Life and Health exam, and that's that first exam that Joey was referencing. So we help you prepare for that. So Northwestern Mutual, we provide all the study material, and it is an online self-paced study course. And then once you get through the study material, you take the practice exam, we cover the cost of you to sit for that exam. So it can get expensive as you're continuing, but we do see the importance of it. And like Cody was saying, it's an investment that we want to help. So for those that make it through the selection process, we see value in you and we believe in you and we want to help you continue. And then as you accomplish various things through the internship, such as like creating the impacts and like there's different live competitions, then you're eligible to receive the additional study material for some of those other exams. So Joey actually did something that only 20% of Northwestern Mutual interns accomplish within the country, not just within our office, and he impacted 10 lives. So that's where he was writing business for 10 people and assisting with improving their futures. Yeah. So, question, how many people in here, like what year around is this class? Do we have any freshmen? Any sophomores? Okay, 2-4 maybe, sort of. Okay, sort of kind of sophomores, got it. Any juniors? No, seniors. Okay, so somebody didn't raise their hand. Oh, okay, awesome. Oh, okay, neat. Okay, nice. So alumni. Yeah. Awesome. What about you guys? Freshmen. I said freshmen. Nobody raised their hand. All right. What about this table back here? Freshmen. Okay. I guess we just don't raise our hands. Fine, whatever. And then what about you two? You're a sophomore. And then high school. Oh, nice. Okay. What year are you? Okay. What school do you go to? Very nice. Okay. Awesome. So, question. So sounds like most of them's freshmen. Has anyone started thinking about an internship or started applying to internships? You have, Jake. And you have. Nice. Okay, so I want to know, when you were planning for your internship, and those who may not have thought about it, but you should start thinking about it. What do you want out of your internship? Just spit it out.
I want to learn a lot, so like,
Okay.
I don't know.
So education.
Education, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's.
Okay.
Experience skills.
Awesome.
I want to enjoy it.
Yeah, great. You know, that's big. Enjoyable. Okay.
Quite cool.
What
What? Go ahead.
are you thinking? You can't be wrong. Whatever you want out of your internship,
What do you want?
you can't be wrong about it. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, Jake.
I want to be able to network too.
Oh, good one. Network. Okay. For those that are on the video, sorry, I've adjusted this. We're doing, I'm just writing these things on the board. So right now we have education, experience, enjoyable, network. If anyone wants to remove themselves from mute and shout out what they would like out of their internship, we are definitely listening. And if not, it's okay. All right. Anybody else? Anything else that sticks out to them for your internship? Education, experience, enjoyable, networking.
Flexibility.
Oh, yes. Flexibility was big for me. So when I was in school, I was always taking somewhere between 18 to 21 credits. I switched my major my junior year. A little crazy.
Anybody like to travel? If you live in Pennsylvania forever and ever, if you could take your internship with you wherever you went, would you be more inclined to do it? I would.
The other thing that was really cool is like, so we do a lot of joint work, and they really, they preach like doing joint work with like senior advisors like Cody. I rely on him for all of my knowledge. I ask him a lot of questions. So I'm sorry, Cody. But I ask him a lot of questions. I'm really annoying about that. But I'm trying to learn all this stuff as quickly as I can. So I do a lot of joint work with him and Chris. And it's really cool because Chris is like, when Chris is on vacation, maybe I'm in the office and I can sit there and I can take notes and I can work on our software while we're talking with a client on the phone. And vice versa, like I was at the beach and I'm literally sitting on the beach, like talking on the phone to a client and him, making money that way. So that was really cool because you can work remote with people and you've got flexibility, control of your own schedule. It's not the same every week. Every client's different. So it's a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun doing it.
You know, Jay, I love what you said about making money because that's real too.
I've had a paid internship.
Yeah.
All right, so education, very important. If you're not learning while you're like in your internship, you're wasting your time because you can go sit somewhere else and just do something worthless and you won't get any value out of it. You won't grow and you won't stimulate yourself. Experience. Do you want it to be able to align with your future? I would think so because that's why they say we need to get those internships, right? At HACC, do they require you to have an internship to graduate? Is that part of the curriculum?
I think you have to have one or two.
Okay, so you should make that align with one of your classes. Whether it's, you know, if say you like something, you're not sure if you really want to do it, experience it. Just do it and make sure that during that experience, you're able to get hands-on experience. You know, you can sit in a meeting and watch somebody do something every day, all day, and you're not going to retain it more than likely, unless you're like an audio learner, maybe. But for most people, they, you know, they're partial audio learners, they're partial visual learners, and they're very like hands-on learners. So do something where you can experience it as well and practice it and stimulate yourself. So you get like that muscle memory, so to say. Enjoyable. I worked somewhere else before Northwestern Mutual. Cody worked somewhere else before Northwestern Mutual. Every day getting up for work was like, okay, I can do this. I'm gonna do this. And then you get to work and you have your happy small face. But did I really enjoy what I was doing? No, I didn't. Cody didn't. That's why he came back to Northwestern Mutual. So I just joined the team this year and I'm embarrassed that it took me so long. It took me 6 months to accept the position. I was so hesitant and so afraid to leave where I was. And but I wasn't enjoying what I was doing. I love being able to come talk to you guys. I love being able to plan and like pop into our director's office with crazy ideas. Like, it's enjoyable. As an intern, do you enjoy it?
I have so much fun.
Sorry, that was kind of like
It's
a
just-
prompted question, right? Like, no, I don't enjoy it. Yeah, networking. Who are you meeting while you're interning? You know, you'd be surprised, even just like walking around the campus, you never know who you're gonna meet. You know, maybe you're at a bar. Well, most people aren't like old enough, but you know, maybe you're at a restaurant, maybe you're with your family. You have no clue who you're gonna shake hands with. So make those moments count. Show of hands, do you have a LinkedIn? Yeah, like put it high, don't be afraid. Come on, big, loud and proud. Okay, those who don't have a LinkedIn, make a LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the best way to social media creep on someone. And like, you know, you might maybe find their Instagram, you might maybe find their Facebook. Like, I always changed my Facebook name so that way people couldn't find me. So LinkedIn, you get their full name. You get to creep on their experience. And, you know, maybe you're walking into a meeting and you can learn other things to talk to. Because when you're networking, realistically, you have like 1 minute. What are you going to say in that first minute to keep their attention, to want to talk, for them to, or you want to listen to whatever they want to talk to you about? You know, so networking, practice your elevator pitch. Practice what makes you unique. Flexibility.
She sees me walk in and out of the office. That was my thing. I like to travel. I like to go to different places. I don't have to take PTO or anything like that. That doesn't exist. The time clock doesn't exist. If I can do 6 meetings before 12 o'clock, I'll leave at 12 o'clock. That's cool for me. I just like to be super efficient with it. Everybody's different though. You might like staying until 7 at night. I'm out. Right. Joey can do that.
Yeah.
But Joey, so talk a little about your family, because you have a unique situation. As an
So
intern.
my family, I was brought up in blue collar work. My family's not a very wealthy family, so I'm kind of looking to just change that, pivot that. But I actually have a daughter. So I have my little girl. She's 3.5 years old. And I want her looking up to me as I'm transitioning from the internship to the full-time. And then as I'm transitioning from my bachelor's degree to my master's degree, then and so on and so forth. And all of the nice things that I will be able to, sorry guys, I forgot about you. All the nice things that that I'll accomplish through Northwestern in school. And I want her watching me go through all those transitions so that she knows there's nothing holding her back. So there's no barriers, there's no excuses, you can do it. So that's one of the unique things about me as an intern, I guess. It's not a whole lot who have a young family.
And then, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Joey's so stylish, right? So like occasionally Joey will stop by my desk. Hey, they have a sale going on. Do they? So Joey also works. So he goes to school. He has his own family. He interns with Northwestern Mutual, and he works. It's possible. The flexibility allows that. You know, I work Northwestern Mutual, and I coach high school cheerleading. I don't know how I was battling both jobs before, because I'd work like basically about 60 plus hours and coach, but it's been exciting. I leave early for my kids' pep rallies. You know, they have other events and they need me, I'm there. I get to be there and mentor those other students, just like how I get to mentor and work with our interns. And I love it. I love that Northwestern Mutual allows for that to be possible.
And the flexibility too, something that wasn't put on here was culture. I'm sure everybody knows about Google, right? They like free lunches, like it's the craziest place to work, best place to work, so they say, just like Amazon. We don't have the free lunches or the mega cafeteria in the office or anything like that, but there is a big company culture, and that's getting together outside the office, really focusing on team building. And we do that starting from the internship, from the ground up. Even with our leadership team, we're always out in the office doing things like cookouts. We went to the Autobahn this year.
That was fun.
I whooped Joey.
Yeah, right. He cheated.
That was pretty cool. And we also go to Milwaukee once a year too. And you think Wisconsin, and you're like, oh, there's nothing out there but cheese. That's where the company headquarters is, and it's like 15,000 other interns come out at the same time. It's a really good time. I'll never miss it, ever.
It's so much fun. Annual meeting was so much fun. I had my first one this year. The food is phenomenal. Like, that's definitely one of the highlights. And then we have that, the big, sorry, that big like carnival. What was that? The fair? That was really cool. It's free food. There's fireworks. There's a big concert there. It was so cool. So that was so much fun. Yeah, annual meeting was a lot of fun other than the drive. That was pretty bad.
He drove to Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Was it like
Overnight. Yeah, we just.
We stopped in Chicago.
No, yeah, we stopped in Chicago to see the Bean, and then we went to a bar, and then just kept going. It was like 14 hours straight or something. It was terrible.
Yeah, I met him there.
Southwest, something. So the ability to relocate. Just who here sees themselves in Harrisburg for like the rest of their lives? It's okay if you don't. So, like when I was in your situation, no. I went to school in Cincinnati, Ohio. I did not think I was coming back. I came back kicking and screaming, like literally up until like the last week. I already accepted my job, and up until like the last week, I was still apartment hunting. I was like, I'm just gonna stay here. I'm gonna make it work. But here I am. And at first it was a little rough, but I love it, and I made it home. But you know, find a company where if you want to relocate, find a company where you can do that, or you know, be able to network to get to those other places. Northwestern Mutual, we have over 350 offices. So if this isn't where you want to be, maybe you want to go to Hawaii. Follow them on Instagram. They wear these really cute, like Hawaiian, like half button-down shirts or short sleeve button-down shirts all the time. I'm like, I wonder what their office is like. But you know, maybe you want to go somewhere else. And then the other neat thing about being an intern, you don't have to go to school in the area to intern with us. So right now we have an intern who goes to school down in Tampa, but they just remote in, they do their calls over the phone, they plug in various ways, and we make it work. So that's another option. You know, maybe you have a friend from high school or someone that isn't here, but you see them being a great fit for this opportunity. That's fine. Talk to them about it. And, oh, paid. How do you get the money? Well, these guys know firsthand. So there's different opportunities for income. You have a stipend that you receive for development. You also receive commission for impacting lives, and you get bonuses. So do you two want to take that away?
Yeah. So the name of the game is just pretty much networking. But if you're able to do a good job for somebody, if you're able to help a family, share with them something that they didn't know before, then yeah, you compensate for it, right? And I share with my clients exactly what I'm going to make from helping them do something or take care of something that they told me they wanted to do, right? So this is not sales at all to me. It's really connecting with somebody and figuring out, okay, well, hey, you want to set up a college account for your son or daughter? Here's how we do it. I'll help you do it for sure. Let's get it started, right? That's really what it is. But as an intern, if you bring on, let's just say a couple clients, then you get a bonus, and it keeps going on and on and on. It's as an incentive to bring on more people, right? And even if you did not say stay in PA forever and you brought on 50 clients, like I have 146 right now. If I move to Hawaii, I take all of them with me. Like nobody else gets my people. They're all mine.
Do all your clients have to be in PA?
No. There's one in Alaska as of yesterday. He's in the Army. But yeah, so it's I guess simple, but
yeah. So you know, maybe you're wondering, how do I impact the life? How do I, you know, get someone to trust me with their financial security?
Yeah. Can I use the board? Is that cool?
Yeah. You want others?
I won't say. Very good. So I think I asked, has anyone taken finance or accounting? Finance, accounting, maybe maybe not yet. Any finance majors? Oh, no. Just but who knows, say, what the stock market is? Everybody knows what the stock market is. You've seen the red and the green. Probably don't know too much about it, right? Lots of numbers. I would say what Joey and I do, it's less about the numbers, more about the emotion behind things and really the why. So if someone tells me, hey, I want to save some money on a monthly basis to put it in a travel fund for my family, or I want to save some money so one day I don't have to work anymore. Joey and I, we handle the numbers in our team, but the big part for me is making the connection to somebody and figuring out really what they want to accomplish, right? Because this stuff is not cookie cutter for every single person we talk to, and there's a lot of different ways to do the same thing, but there's a lot of different kind of ins and outs with taxes. I think the last group in here was talking about taxes. If I'm helping somebody save money or invest money to get a return on their money, they don't want to do it so they're not paying taxes, right? I want them to keep every dollar that they save to themselves. Right. So when we're going through, say, a financial plan with somebody, I like to split it up, defense and offense, right? Just like a football game. Defense, first and foremost, this is something that everybody right now could do, and that's getting together an emergency expense. Handwriting's all right, not too bad. So an emergency expense. If I'm talking to somebody for the very first time, and say it's a family of 2, 3 kids, I'm making sure that if their expenses on a monthly basis are $2,000 for their mortgage, their food, their car, whatever, that they're gonna have at least 3 months if something were to happen to their job, right? Because if that's not taken care of and we're saving money in a bunch of different places, then it's all gonna go if something happens to their employment, right? That's not gonna be too good. So even as a college student, I would recommend that. That's my first recommendation to everyone here. Okay. The second one, that's making sure that if something happened to them, the unfortunate, super unfortunate, that their family's going to be taken care of, right? If you have 2 kids, a husband or a wife, and you make $60,000 a year, if you make $60,000 a year as a 21-year-old for the next 44 years till you retire at 65, you're going to make probably $4 million in your lifetime, right? If you're married, then your spouse is going to depend on that $60,000 a year. But if something were to happen to you, then where's that $4 million going to come from? Right? That's kind of part of it. This is all defensive planning. After that, then that's debt management. So who has student loans? Because I know I do. Right? It's scary. Has anybody looked at them yet? Or seen when you have to start paying them back? That's really scary. So for me, I was the first one in my family to go to college, and I said, Mom, take care of all my student loans. I was like, you set them up, I'll worry about it when I graduate. She never did that stuff before. She jacked those things up. Like they were completely not okay. So it's like 5 months out of school, and I'm looking at all the stuff that I own. I'm like, oh, that's a pretty big number. And then I get another statement a month later. I'm like, whoa, that's a big number too. Where'd that one come from, right? So my other recommendation to you guys, girls, would be look at your student loans like now or before it's too late, so you can start taking advantage of them, right? And that interest that builds up, and it's crazy. So this, I would say looking at those, because 5 months out, I had 1 more month time to start paying them back, and I got a bill for $1,000 bucks, and I just started my first job, right? So I was making $3,000 a month, and then I had to pay $1,000 of that every month in student loans. That wasn't really happy. You're supposed to be happy when you get your first job, right? Wasn't happy. So what I did was I consolidated those, made it more manageable, and that's the things that we do with our clients every day. So that's defensive planning. Has anybody's parents, or have you ever heard of, say, them using a financial advisor ever? Maybe. I don't talk about it too much, right? How old do you think the average financial advisor is?
Just shout out some numbers.
28, 45, 32.
He was closest. It's like 50, like 52 or something. People retire at like 60 in this career on like average. So I'm 23. Joey, you're
21.
21. I would say the average age in our firm is probably like 30,
It's like 34.
34. Right? The average age in the company is like 34, because we know if we're building a strong internship program, then there's going to be a lot of people that need financial advisors, but they're all going to retire. Right? So it's pretty cool to be able to say that. So the stock market. Who's invested in stocks or picked stocks before? Cool. Was it in class or just on your own?
Not much stuff at home. It's like he was into it, so.
Cool. It's fun, right? When you're winning.
What?
I said it's fun when they're doing well.
Yeah, well, actually, he bought them for me.
Okay.
It's like, yeah.
So he was picking them out.
Yeah.
Right. So if you thought of, let's just say, how we invest stocks or how we pick stocks. So Joey and I, we're not really behind the computer doing the research and watching the news every single day, deciding, oh, I should buy Apple stock because I think it's going to do really well. Right? We have an entire team, an entire company, and full of resources that do that stuff for us. We're just focused on meeting with clients and kind of explaining what a stock actually is. Right? So I'm sure everybody in here, at least 70% of people in here have an iPhone. Right? I see like 8 on the desk. Right? I have an iPhone. So if I said, okay, Joey, if you give me $1,000 and we invest all of it in Apple, and Apple releases a really good iPhone, do you think your money's going to grow, or do you think it's going to sink?
Yeah, it'll grow.
Okay. What if we invested all your money in Apple and they released a bad iPhone that nobody bought? What happens to
Lose
it?
your money.
Exactly. So what Northwestern and a lot of other companies give you the option to do is invest in 1,000 different companies at the same time. It's called a mutual fund. Right? You'll learn about that in your finance classes, or when you get a 401k, right, or a 403b, or a retirement plan through your job that you're going to have. That's what they use. They use mutual funds. And if you told somebody that, you're like, hey, you know what a mutual fund is? It's 1,000 different companies all diversified. They're like, how'd you learn that? Right? It's pretty cool. And that's like the same response I get from my clients, because nobody's talking to them about this stuff. On average, I'd say I meet with 20 people a week, 5 people that just start their jobs or something like that. They get a paper that says, hey, sign up for your 401k, we'll explain it later. Right? I'm explaining that stuff, and I do it in an easy way so that they can go tell their friends, and then their friends want to work with me too. Right? It's all about doing a good job. If you do a good job, if you do good work, you'll be busy. Same with like a business owner. If you have a restaurant and they make bad food, probably not going to be too busy, right? But if you really like Capital Diner, I go there for breakfast all the time. Yeah, that parking lot is filled at all times, right? Because they do good work. Same thing for this. But when it comes to, say, investing, there's a lot of different things, and some of them kind of sound foreign. You could have a brokerage account. You could have a 401k. Anybody ever heard their parents talk about their 401k? Yeah. 403b if you work for a hospital. You could have a pension. All this stuff. Roth IRA. Have any of your professors told you to get one of these? No. They probably will in your higher classes. Lots of different stuff that you can put money into, and it all uses the same thing, and that's those mutual funds, right? But what we make sure we're doing is doing these and using them in the most advantageous ways, so that the client is not paying taxes on the money that they're saving. And if we use one of these, there's a good chance that, say, if I manage $1 million for somebody, we can grow it 12, 15% every year. Pretty cool. They're going to like me, right? If I grow $1 million by 15%, but they're not going to like me if that goes down -20, right? So what we're doing is we're utilizing our team to make sure we're rebalancing those, keeping an eye on that stuff so they don't have to do it and they can keep living their lives, right? They don't want to worry about the red and the green. They want to worry about what they're eating for dinner on Friday night with their family, right? Same with working with like a doctor. Doctors work ridiculous hours every week. They don't have time to do this stuff. And if they did do it, they might be on Google trying to do it themselves. And I'm not very handy. If I looked up how to make a sled, it's probably not gonna be a very good sled, right? But if my parents did it, they're super handy. I don't know how to do half the stuff they do. If I said, Mom, I need a sled, she would build me one, right? Everybody's good at different things. And I think that's why it's important to ask for help, even when it comes, say, looking for an internship, or when you are working or in your internship, not being afraid to ask other people for help. That's the one thing I struggled with early, but I got better with it now, and I ask my clients for help all the time now. So I'm like, hey, I don't know how to do this, help me out. But long story short, that's what we do in a nutshell, is just helping people get a grasp on things that they already had or never heard about before, to really help them accomplish what they want to do. And I can tell you, I didn't know about half of this stuff, even after graduating with a finance degree. It's all stuff that I learned, say, on the job, working, and that's what Mackenzie was saying. If you're not learning while you're in an internship, then you're just kind of volunteering time. And I know every hour that I spend, say, with a client or in a meeting, I'm going to learn something too. And I really like that. So that's why I do this. And I've seen the impact that this stuff makes on a family once you actually are able to help them. And that's why I can honestly say I'll probably never do anything else. And I always stay with this company and just continue to build. But that was a lot. That was like finance 101 or 201, I guess you'd say. Does anybody have any questions, or what are you guys thinking?
It's always intimidating to ask.
It's intimidating to stand up here.
Really, that doesn't bother me at all. I can stand remote.
No, I think I told everybody when I first started, I don't like doing this stuff. It intimidates the crap out of me. So
It gets better. It's easier.
Well, to help you out, I'd say that probably what you're teaching other people something you're going to use in your life. So it's more likely going to help you more than I help you.
yeah,
And if it's something you're going to need to know in life, why not learn it as we go too?
exactly. Yeah, that's awesome. Why not learn it anyway, right? And my goal is when I'm working with somebody, that they're going to be able to articulate everything that we go over with their friends, whether it comes up in conversation, and then I want them to be the expert, right? So I kind of act as a professor. I guess you'd say we're a teacher. And if I didn't do this, I might be a history teacher if I got more comfortable talking to people. But I just like helping people, say, learn new things, and that's another part of this too. If you ever thought about being a professor or a teacher, you probably do extremely well at this. I promise. Kenzie, Joey, anything?
I'm good.
That's my little spiel.
That was great.
Spiel.
Very
That was awesome.
educational.
Very good job.
So, we talked today about, why it's important to invest even now, why it's important to have an understanding of your finances, and, ask your parents those difficult questions. Hey, or grandparents, whoever is helping you with your schooling, who are my loans through? Do I have public, like federal loans, or do I have private loans? Start looking into those things. Just like how Cody said, hey, I let my mom run with it. I did the same thing. Okay, right. But my mom, she's a smart woman. Like, she's fine. She set it all up, took the stress away from me. But now, here we are a few years later, and it's like, oh boy, where did this one come from? Where did that one come from? How much more do I owe? And, just little things like paying the interest before you have an amount that you have to pay and you're required to pay really helps. Pay what you want to pay. Even if it's, hey, I got my refund check, I got like $500, I'm going to put $100 back towards my loans, and I'm going to keep the $400 because you still have current real expenses that you might be using that refund check for. So be realistic with yourself. But, if it's something like, I want to talk to people, I know I need to be able to network with others to, highlight who I am, talk to us. So everyone has my business card. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I am more than happy to help anyone with how to have those conversations and speak with companies and identify the internship that you feel would be fit for you. And connect on LinkedIn. We also do information sessions to give you more detail on our internship program. And I would love to get you guys scheduled for that. Typically, our internship is geared towards juniors and seniors. but we have had sophomores and others pursue the internship. One of the things, I'll give you a little secret, when there's a company that says, hey, this is specifically for those that have like a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, or even for internships, it's for just seniors, it's just for juniors, reach out to them anyways. By you going against the grain and saying, this is what I'm applying for, this is what I want to do, it shows a little something to the employer that shows that you're not afraid of resistance. And, you know, do yourself one up. Don't put your graduation date on there. If they don't know when you're graduating, but it says it's specifically for juniors and seniors, well, they got to give you a call because they don't know, hey, you're a freshman. They don't know, hey, you're a sophomore. And they want to learn more about you. So maybe you have a great resume, but you're just young. That's okay. Still contact them. So everybody has my contact information, like I said. Connect with me on LinkedIn. If you, instead of just hitting connect, if you put a little message when you connect, take the extra step, hey, we met here doing this. That helps, and that means something to those that you're connecting with. It shows that you weren't just lazy clicking. You weren't just click, 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 you know? So I know majority don't have LinkedIn yet. Make one. Make that your homework assignment for winter break. I know it's final time, so not the weekend. Make that your homework assignment for winter break. Build your LinkedIn. Put thought into it. Use a picture. You know, maybe your first picture is a selfie. That's what mine was. It was a selfie from my car, and I was like, okay, this is ridiculous. And then, you know, it turned into something else. Now it's finally like a really nice headshot, but it took a little bit to build to that. But yeah.
Thank you. A couple more phrases that I do want to cover with you guys. Forgot to. Okay. Please remember. So don't start your day until you have it finished. That's a really important one. That's gonna go with your work, school, everything in life. And then just kind of fighting interest with interest. All you guys are gonna have student loans. I have student loans. Fighting interest with interest. You're starting sooner, smaller rather than larger later. So like you investing $50 today a month would be the equivalent of you doing $5,000 a month when you're like in your 40s. So it's a big difference. And you could like, if you're investing $50 a month now, in your 40s, you'll be investing $50 a month for your retirement. You still have millions of dollars to retire on. It's better to start when you're younger, like our age. So, and then you guys see me around campus all the time. So just ask me questions. It doesn't matter what the question is. Like if you want to talk, like outside there, like we can talk. That's fine. So.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mackenzie, Joey, Cody. Thank you so much for your guys' time.
Yeah.
So.
Thanks for having me.
The last session for the business symposium today. We have Jen Crone from PSECU, and she will be our last presenter, and she's going to present on identity theft. Welcome, Jen, and thank you.
Thank you. How are you guys doing today?
Great.
Good. Thank you. You guys should be pumped. You have donuts if you're here. Yes, full of sugar. All right. I know. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. So we decided to do identity theft. I think that this is a really great time of year to talk about identity theft. Being with the holidays coming up, a lot of people do online shopping, and which increases the identity theft. Nope. There we go. Okay. So does anybody know what identity theft is? Anybody? Yeah.
Someone's stealing your identity.
Mm-hmm.
They have like your social security number, or even like your account information and stuff like that.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. And they could do a lot of different things if they steal your social security number, right? So just as she said, it's when a person's personal information is taken and used by somebody else for fraudulent purposes. Existing accounts or to create new ones. Okay, so they can create a bank account, they can create a credit card profile, they can create mortgages, I've seen. Is there a way to move this? These three sides over at all? Does anybody know? Just grab it and slide it. So what actions are considered identity theft? So the Bureau of Justice Statistics lists the following actions: unauthorized use or attempted use of existing account, use of your personal information to open up a new account, misuse of personal information for fraudulent purposes, and providing false information to law enforcement. Down forever. You know, people have been stealing people's identities to try to fraud so that they don't have to pay for things. So why do you think it's become more prevalent? Especially yeah. Before the technology, all we had was people stealing people's mail out of their mailboxes and dumpster diving. I don't know if you guys have heard of that phrase before or not. But it's right, I know. But people legit used to go in dumpsters and try to steal your information. So that's why it's very important to shred all your personal information these days. So as you guys said, you know, newer online in the US reported being affected by identity theft in 2012. You guys want to take a wild guess?
Millions.
Millions? Yeah. That's a lot. And that's in 2012. So we're now gathering information to update all these slides. So you figure that was 6 years ago. So imagine how much higher that number is probably. Helpful. So what do you think the types of accounts are most likely to be subject to identity theft?
Credit card accounts.
Credit card accounts? Yep. Debit cards? Yep. So credit card used. And a lot of people, I mean, who pays for anything in cash anymore? Oh, you do? Is that why? Or
I just don't want to use my card often.
okay. So the consequences of identity theft. I mean, as you know, it's extremely overwhelming. It is a huge, long road to try to recover from identity theft. It affects you mentally, emotionally, financially, you know. Financial consequences, you know, obvious charges on accounts that are, you know, fraudulent accounts are opened in your name. Most of the time, you know, the people that do this don't pay, and they'll go and they'll charge like a whole bunch. They won't pay it off. So now you have a really bad credit score, right? And now you guys can't even go out and get any loans in your own name. So it affects a lot.
Are there things in place to kind of undo that? Like you were a victim of identity theft to, I don't know, fix your credit score maybe? Or
So they do have, like, if you've been a person, you know, that has been affected by identity theft, you can call into the credit reporting agencies and you can put a protective action. And that way, if you would ever apply for, you know, another loan after you've been subject to identity theft, you would either, you know, type in a personal PIN number, or it would be like a phrase or some sort, so that they know it's actually you applying for it, not somebody else. So they have those actions in place. Mm-hmm. So your personal information is obviously compromised. We already talked about the emotional distress, you know, of that alone. So do you guys think that victims report more emotional distress in attempts to misuse existing accounts or in attempts to open new accounts? So do you think it's misuse of accounts or to open new accounts that was reported?
Misuse existing.
So victims are more likely to experience financial, credit, or relationship problems and emotional distress if the incident of identity theft was an attempt to open up a new account.
Why?
Well, a couple of different, actually, let me go back to that one. Me personally, I think it would be more your own, like, you know, it's kind of whatever you feel is more emotional distress. This is just from 2014, the statistics that they gathered. So more victims actually experienced financial because of the new accounts, but that's what was reported. So it could have been that, you know, there was a lot more people that, you know, was emotionally distressed over having their own account compromised, but they may not have reported it. So this is statistic use.
Also, it could be, it just, in my experience, that the more somebody tries to open new accounts, the more hits your credit report rating gets and the lower your credit rating gets. If they actually are trying to use an existing account, they get caught quicker. It's one incident and you're done, as opposed to multiple hits that has a longer lasting effect on credit rating.
That is definitely true too, because if you're opening multiple accounts, yeah, you're going to be, your credit score is going to go down. That's going to be reported to, you know, within your credit history, your Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. I always forget that third one. Yep. Yeah, so that, I mean, that does make sense that it would be more detrimental to you rather than just using what you already have. Because if you only have a checking account, then that's the only thing that they can touch. Other consequences, you know, time spent trying to resolve the issue. So how long do you guys think it takes to solve this issue? Months, years, weeks, days?
Does it depend on like what they're trying to do? Or
No, this is just like overall identity theft. So they have stolen your identity, they have all your personal information, they've opened up new accounts, they've misused your personal account.
say years, decades?
So in 2012, 50% of victims were able to resolve associated problems in a day or less. 29% of victims who had personal information spent 1 month or more trying to resolve the issue. So it doesn't seem like it's a long time, but if you think about it, if your own checking account was compromised, if that is your main account where you pay bills, how are you gonna, now you gotta recover from things that have been overdrawn, not been paid on time. So 1 month or more is a lot for your bills not to be paid on time. Because anytime that you miss a payment, it goes directly onto your credit history, which lasts for 7 years. So how do identity thieves get your personal information? Obvious, you know, they can steal your wallet and your purse, information from your home. Like I said, dumpster, diving, stolen mail. How many of you carry your social security card around with you? No? Good. Don't. If you do, stop, leave it at home because you very rarely need it. And when you do, you make sure that you know where it is and access it at that time. Okay. Do you guys bring a lot of personal information to school? Like, I mean, obviously, if you guys drive here, you have your driver's license on you and stuff like that. But if you have multiple debit cards and credit cards, do you bring them all with you? It's hard to, yeah, I mean, you know, you think like you need to bring everything with you. Like I try not to bring hardly anything with me at work. I bring exactly what I need and that's it. Just in case something might happen, you know, I don't want them to be able to take everything that I have. So food for thought. So how's the information stolen? Abuse of authorized access to the information, posing as a landlord, employer, etc. Use of the scanner to capture credit, debit card numbers. How many of you guys use the ATM to pull out cash? Couple? Do you guys ever kind of look over the ATM when you use it? Make sure that there's no scanning devices, skimmers? Have you heard of skimmers? Yeah. So be careful of your ATM usage as well. It's funny because you're like, you don't really like to use your debit or credit cards or whatever, and you prefer cash. I don't really like going to the ATM because I'm wary of them, having skimmers or being able to get my debit card information, because that's connected. My checking account, the way that I do my budgeting is all of my bills are paid through my checking account. So if my debit card or checking account number gets taken, I'm in a lot of trouble because none of my bills are going to be paid on time. Have you guys heard of phishing? Phishing? Smishing? Yeah? You know what all three are?
I know the first two. I've never heard of the last one.
So the difference between phishing, vishing, and smishing. So I think everybody does know phishing is to steal things through emails, right? Vishing is via phone. Anybody want to take a guess what smishing is? Close, via text messages. Yep. Have you gotten, I know recently I'm getting phone calls, so this is phishing, from numbers that replicate the first three numbers that are my phone number. That's going on a lot. So, I don't know if you guys answer them or not. If you do, be very careful, because what the callers are doing are piecing your information. If they're saying, oh, is this Bobby? And you say, yes, this is Bobby. They'll cut it off, and now they have your voice, and now they have saying your name. And you say, yes, they'll cut that off, and they'll piece other things together to open up stuff in your name. I'm telling you, I swear, if fraudulent people put their use to good instead of trying to scam everybody, it's amazing.
Stop the phone calls though, if you wait till the end, and press 0 or something like that, or in the beginning. So I know I get some of them sometimes, and if you answer them, because I don't answer them often, but if I do, because it looks like a number that I know. Yeah. It'll automatically say if you want to be taken off this list, press 0 or something like that.
Sometimes they do, but I mean,
does that actually take you off the list, or is it just it's a new number that calls?
I think it's just a new number that they cycle through. I mean, they're getting, I think they're getting kind of desperate at this point. But yeah, I mean, normally I'll, sometimes I'll answer and I'll just be like, this is a place of business, take me off your calling list, anything to try to get, put your phone number on the, what is that, the 1-800 do not call list. And I think you have to do it every year, or it stays on there for it's either 1 year or every 3 years that I'm not unsure of. So what do identity theft thieves do? Divert bills for existing accounts. They open up new cards and run up your bills. They establish new services in your name, stuff that we kind of already reviewed.
What do you mean by divert bills?
So what they'll do is, instead of you getting the bill, because I've already stolen that information from you, right? So now I have that information and I can go purchase things somewhere else. Instead of you still getting the bill, because then you're going to see that at the end of the month, everything that's charged, and then you're going to dispute it. I'm now going to change the address. I'm going to say you moved. And now you're not even going to get that. So now I have a couple of months before things go into collection and they actually turn the card off. Yeah. Open up new bank accounts, write bad checks. Anybody write checks anymore? No? I know. Yeah, very rarely. Counterfeit checks or credit or debit card for existing accounts. A lot of fraud going on when you like sell things or like you want to buy things online. Have you guys ever experienced anything like that? Yeah, I had somebody that sold something over online and they sold it for $200 and they received a check for $2,000. So they deposited the check, they withdrew $1,000 of it. The whole entire check was fraudulent. So not only did this person get the merchandise for free, now they owed the institution to, well, $1,000 because they only took $1,000 of it. They were able to recover $1,000 of it. So they had to pay back what they took out. So, but this person also knew that they only sold it for $200. So just be very cautious of that. So there's a lot of scams like, we'll send you this, but then you need to resend me the, oh, sorry, I wrote out the check wrong. I added an extra zero. Just send me back, you know, the difference. So now you're really out how much money if you do something like that. They authorize transfers of monies and they drain your existing accounts. They file for bankruptcy underneath your name. Do you guys know how long bankruptcy stays on your credit report?
Like 12, 15, 18 years.
10. Yeah. So bad credit stays on your credit report for 7 years, but bankruptcy stays on for 10. And did you guys know that if you do claim bankruptcy, if you have any student loans, that does not fall underneath bankruptcy, you still have to pay those back? Little tip. So they buy a car, take out a car loan in your name, request duplicate forms of your ID. You can see how hairy and messy this gets. Use your name to get a job, file false tax returns. Use your name during an arrest or a no-show, associated court date. So here's a little fun story for you guys. I moved to New Jersey back in '99, and I went to the DMV to get my driver's license, my New Jersey driver's license, and the guy told me that he could not give me one, that I had 2 warrants out for my arrest. Yeah, and I was like, no, no, you don't. And he's like, yeah, and I could not get my driver's license. So I had to figure out what was going on. I had a warrant out for my arrest in Reading, Pennsylvania, and drug possession charges in South Carolina. Yeah, all in the same like time frame when I was going to school at HACC. I was living at home and I was working 3 jobs. So I was like, yeah, wasn't me. Oh. Yeah. So that was fun trying to fight that. And I drove to Reading 3 different times to try to fight it. And the first time the arresting officer was sick, so I had to drive back again. Then the judge was sick. And then the 3rd time, they had to postpone it because of something else. And mind you, my dad, well, now he's a retired liquor control enforcement officer. So, you know, it's a pain in the butt. And they wanted me to go down to South Carolina to try to fight it, and I was like, no. So, yeah.
So you still wanted in South Carolina?
I have a letter. If I do ever get pulled over, if they do mix me up with, you know, the person, that I can show them. So I drive around with this letter still because I'm still scared. But yeah, I mean, if I get pulled over, I mean, they, you know, sorry, officer, it's not me. Oh, okay, you know, right? That'll go over well.
You're a little afraid you'd get arrested in Reading when you showed up and said,
My dad went with me.
Oh.
Yeah, I figured it, if I brought him along, it might hold some weight. But yeah, I was really nervous. I mean, you know, I was young and, you know, I didn't know what to expect. And yeah. So how do you avoid becoming a victim of identity theft? We already talked about one of the things, but a couple more is monitoring your credit. Do you guys all get your credit score? Do you check it? Kind of.
I'll let you do that.
Yeah, so hopefully you guys don't pay for it. You know, most of your financial institutions, credit card companies, if you have a credit card, will give you your credit score for free every month. If you are paying for it, you guys can come to the PSECU office and I can let you know how not to. And you guys know the difference between a score and a report, right? So your score is that 3-digit number to let us know, financial institutions to let us know if you're credit worthy of paying back. Credit report is all your financial history. So it basically from the time that you start, taking credit out till the present day, and it also shows your personal information, name, social, addresses, where you've lived. So if you lived in multiple places, it'll all list that. Okay. So most of the time it stays on your credit report for 7 years, which we talked about. After 7 years, it should drop off. If it doesn't, you can contact them to see, if anything negatively is impacting you and it's been over 7 years, you can ask them to take it off if it hasn't come off yet. A lot of people just don't go through the motions to do these things, and it's unfortunate, but we talked about what the credit score was. If you're able to repay the loan or not. So you can get your credit report free once every 12 months. And annualcreditreport.com is the actual web address that you guys can go to. So I know that there was like this fancy jingle going on TV for a while. I don't even remember what it is anymore because I don't even know if it's around, but you had to pay for it. Or somebody told me that there was like a magazine subscription that they had to do. You shouldn't have to pay or do anything to get your credit report. Now we talked about the 3 credit reporting agencies, the Equifax, TransUnion, and Experian. So if you are a PSECU member, you can receive your credit score once a month for free through our credit score services. If you haven't gotten your credit report, I do suggest that you get all 3 at once, the very first time that you get them, because you want to make sure that all 3 of them are reporting, pretty similar things, and one thing's not reporting something negative and the other 2 aren't. Your scores between the 3 reporting agencies will vary a little bit, but they shouldn't vary a lot. So that's the other thing you want to watch for. And then after, you've kind of gone through them and made sure everything is good, then you can spread them out the next year. You can kind of get one in like February, maybe another one in July, and another one in November, and then each year, you can get 3 of them a year. Also monitor your accounts, right? We're all online every day, checking our accounts, see how much money we have, right? Yeah. And even if you haven't used a card that you've had, you might want to check it to make sure that there hasn't been any use on it. Most of the times, if you haven't used a card in, probably about a couple of years, the card company will shut it down. Do you guys check your statements at all? So your statement is what comes at the end of the month for the previous month, and it shows everything that you guys have charged on it. Or do you just check your daily of, making sure things actually post to your account? Daily. It's a good thing to check the statement as well. Not only just to make sure that, there wasn't anything that you may have missed daily, but also if you guys are ever wondering, where your money's actually going, it's a good thing to always review your statement as well. Did you guys get e-alerts? Do you get any kind of alerts, whether you're with PSECU or whoever your banking institution is, if you're below a certain amount or anything like that? Protect your documents. We already talked about shredding everything. I must say I need to get better with that. I like to just rip things up, but you really should shred because it has your name and your address. That's, to the personal information that they need. And then all they need is your account and your social. So we talked about protecting your social security number, right? Don't carry it with you. Passwords. Everything these days, and they want it changed, what, every 30 days, every 60 days, and it's a pain to change them because then you have to remember them and you're not supposed to write them down. You're not supposed to store them and all that stuff, right? You're not supposed to use the same password for all accounts. Anybody have any tips on passwords that they do to protect themselves? Yeah?
I memorize phrases. I use the first letter in the word, not phrase.
That's
and like that usually involves like date or numbers in there. Then they just become part of the password. And I just remember the phrase.
Nice. Yeah. And I know that's something that they have been talking about a lot lately, you know, don't use your dog's name and, you know, don't use the street you live on and all that stuff. So, somebody gave me a tip that, because I can't remember all my passwords, so I use the same password, but I change the numbers in them and I keep going up the keyboard, but then I forget where I'm at. So it helps, but yeah. But yeah, so be creative in building your passwords. Think of a creative phrase like you had said. You know, I love being a member of PSECU, LLBAMOP 2014. Use your technology wisely. Be careful if you share your information, who you're sharing your information with. Surf the web safely. Keep your virus protection. Anybody use like an anti-Norton software anymore? I know a lot of people have Apple and Apple has their own virus protection, but if you don't, you're still, you know, use an Android or, you know, computer, make sure that you guys are purchasing some kind of anti-theft.
A lot of providers actually provide stuff for your phone like that for free. Just download the right apps. So.
That's nice. Is it like the first year free and then you have to pay for it after that, or is it always free now as part of the service?
It's like I have Verizon, you know, for
oh, good.
For your phone. So
good. Don't use automatic logins when you store your passwords. Read privacy policies on websites. Don't dispose of a computer without deleting your personal information. You know, a lot of this, you know, is common sense. It's a matter of practicing to do it. Use social media responsibly. Don't share your personal information. I think you guys all know if somebody's trying to grab information from you, if they're like, oh, well, just give me your social and I can, you know, well, first of all, if you're the company, share my social. Why do you need the full? Normally, they just ask for the last 4 digits, right? Be cautious about what pictures you post. So I learned a little tidbit from my coworker who actually read the disclaimers of Snapchat. Because nobody reads disclaimers, right? Like sign here, okay, sign here, you know. She actually read it and she said that the one thing that actually stuck out in her mind the most was that even though that the pictures delete immediately, Snapchat keeps them for a year. So, right, so then they're not deleted immediately. Snapchat owns them for a year. I don't know what they do with them, or after a year. I don't know if they just, you know, yeah. So you should read all your disclaimers to make sure that you know exactly what you're signing up for. And speaking of social media, a lot of employers will check your social media sites to make sure that, you know, you're not doing anything that you're not supposed to be doing or posting pictures to. So I do know a couple people that actually got terminated from their positions because of stuff that they posted. So be cautious of that. Don't advertise your location, so turn off your location. You know, if you're going on vacation, everybody loves to say, oh, leaving for vacation. Now nobody's at your house. So now they can come in and stay whatever they want. So don't say you're leaving, just post pictures after you come home. Use your privacy settings. You know, if you don't know them, be careful of who you actually add as a friend. because you never know who they are. And if you don't understand, ask. So what do you do if you lose your personal information, besides panic and freak out?
Call your bank and tell them.
Yep. Try to remember everything that you've had in there that was stolen and close it immediately. You want to contact all the company's financial institutions, change your password on all your accounts. What should you do if you're a victim of identity theft? So this is what you were kind of asking earlier. Place a fraud alert on your credit reports. Review your credit reports. Contact the companies. Let them know. Just make sure that you are monitoring everything and reporting anything disputing. You're going to change all your passwords, pins, everything, and start from scratch. And I know it's a pain, and we talked about changing passcodes and how we have to remember everything, but I'm telling you, if you do not change it all, you'll still be a victim going forward. Also, a lot of people don't do this, but I think it's definitely important to file a report, you know, with your local police. And you can file a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission. The more you report to the more people, then, you know, it's just better. Do you guys have any questions at all? Yeah.
How many people get caught for doing this stuff, for being the perpetrator of these crimes?
More than we think. I don't have like a number or anything that I could give you, but they're, you know, through their investigation, a lot of them do actually get caught and a lot of them just don't either. So it really just depends on if it's like, you know, like you said, if it's something where they can like kind of hone in on and figure out who did it and like the location and everything like that. And if there's security cameras everywhere, then they're better off, you know, trying to get them. But if not, if it's something that's like they're doing stuff online and they're using like a fake web address and a fake email and a fake this, then it's more difficult. But that shouldn't deter you from turning people in, though.
Oh, no. This only ever happened to me one time, and the way I found out about it was PSECU called me.
Oh, nice.
They were right on it, and I was away. They said, you need to call us, so I called them, and they told me exactly what happened and said, you need to call the police, and so I called the police, and then I never heard another thing except you guys made my account whole, everything was great, so happy, but like whoever this was pretty stupid, and so I would imagine a lot of people who do this are sort of just, they're taking chances, like they're just crimes of convenience or something like that. Because this person actually had my card physically and went to grocery stores and bought her. Like, how do you think you're not going to get caught? There's, you know, cameras everywhere. So I would assume this person got caught, or at least they have pictures, whether, you know, they're slick and just only try to. I can't even imagine, but
yeah. I mean, in today's society, it's a lot easier to get caught than it was back in the day with, you know, no technology.
It's easier to get away with it too, because if you're just little.
Yeah.
Yeah. You only do it. You know, it's like the perfect crime. You do it once, you never do it again, and nobody knows who you are.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I know we prosecute to the fullest when we find out. I know that there was a card cracking scheme going around a couple of years ago where they targeted college students. And what they would do is they would approach college students saying, you need to earn a little bit of money. Of course, you would say, absolutely. Easy, $1,000, here's $1,000. Give me your credit card, debit card, whatever it is. And 24 hours, 48 hours, report it stolen, or you lost it. So the financial institution would pay for everything that was purchased on there because you didn't do it. But after investigation, we found out like PSECU got hit. And I mean, we weren't the only institution that got hit. Like there was a ton of institutions that got hit. And, you know, after investigation, you know, we found out that people knew about it. So now you're part of that scheme. So now you're being prosecuted for actually allowing it to happen. I know a couple college students actually got kicked out of a college at Millersville for it. So just be really careful. There's a lot of scams and a lot of schemes going on. And if the money's easy to be made, probably not worth it. Or if you do know of easy money being made, let me know. Yeah. But this little pamphlet just tells you a little bit of tips of, you know, how to protect your accounts and stuff. So I know this isn't the most exciting information to go over, but it's important because I mean, I know it's just so easy to keep swiping, and you just swipe, and you never know. And you know, I've gotten a phone call too, like your card's been used in where was it, Delaware, I think it was. I was like, nope, that wasn't me, you know. And you know, I don't know how they get the numbers. I have no idea, but I don't even know if it's an algorithm that they just try to float numbers together and then try to purchase something and it just happens to match with yours, you know. But you know, they're getting smarter, but so are we. Yeah. That's all I got for you. Any questions? Any more questions? No? All right. Sorry, I ended early.
Thank you.
You're welcome.